of the um, the changes to the economy, which are resulting in their loss of employment, their loss of social status, and potentially their loss of power. And even though the counter-terrorists weren't Black Lives Matter people, they were actually anti-fascists that were clashing, and they were mostly white. This is the way that Charlottesville has been portrayed to many of the people who are on the nationalist / KKK side, that this was a black and white issue and free speech issue. I should be able to say what I want to say in America. So I want to make sure that I'm clear that this is where I'd like to direct the conversation, not on whether or not America has had a history of racism or if we're in a post-racial society. Clearly, what we have seen based on what's going on in this country right now shows we are not in a post-racial society. That the election of President Barack Obama as the leader of the free world did not have us arm in arm singing Kumbaya. It didn't. It created an opportunity for a person like Trump, who will end up standing up in the middle of after a riot and say there are good people on both sides. Now, I just want to make sure that I'm clear. This is the concern that I think a lot of people don't hear about their side. They're fighting against genocide. They're fighting against racial intermixing, and they're fighting for economic power. Those are the three central tenets. And then I guess free speech is the fourth one. So can you guys comment on those ideologies or those issues specifically?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel like, and let me say this first, because I have something very strong that is on me to tell all those who stand and oppose against the KKK, the neo-Nazis, and the white supremacists. But right now, I really want to clarify the whole Black Lives Matter versus KKK, the neo-Nazis, and white supremacists. That definitely has the. They're definitely not the same thing.
They are not.
Who's wondering? They're very, very clearly not the same thing.
Right.
You have one group of people that says it would be okay with us, and a matter of fact, we promote the fact that every other color other than ourselves is either not in the same location as we are or dead. And then another group that says, hey, if you don't mind, we'd like to be treated the same as every other color. Or excuse me, we'd like to be treated the same as the predominant color. If that's
no,
okay.
as human.
So,
we'd like our life to matter.
to matter equally, but equally the comparison is to the people, the people they feel are being held down by. But yes, we'd like to be treated as humans.
Human beings,
as human beings. So I want to really make that clear that even though inside the Black Lives Matter movement, there are a lot of people. There's always pockets of people, regardless of where you go, that are going to be the ones that want to incite rage. They want to incite violence. They want to do things that are negative. But the Black Lives Matter movement initially started with a band of people that were ready to peacefully protest and say, hey, listen, all we want to say is we would like to be treated like regular humans. We don't want to be singled out because of the color of our skin. Whereas, again, just to reiterate, in case somebody may have not been sure, the KKK and the white supremacists and all those are saying, hey, listen, we would like for you guys to either leave or die. So the two are not in any way equated.
Right. And it should also be noted that the vast majority of Black Lives Matter movement marches are not armed marches with militia. There's a distinction in the fact that most of the Black Lives Matter movement events do not have weaponry. They walk peacefully with signage, whereas if you look at Charlotte, you will see that they were heavily armed for a war, along with shields, helmets. Some of them had bulletproof armor on, as well as carrying automatic and semi-automatic weaponry. These were not the same types of this was not a situation where individuals came for a peaceful march solely, and there was a lot of militia there prior to the actual march taking place until the governor declared a state of emergency, which meant that weaponry could not be used in the march. So I think it's clear that there was an attempt to make this into a weapon laden march and a display of an army on American soil until the governor stepped in. So I think it should be really clear that these are not even the same types of marches, nor are they the same types of people who are marching. I do need to make that distinction. I want to speak specifically to the issue of free speech, because this is where a lot of our moderate conservatives scratch their heads. And when President Ronald Reagan, a conservative, actually stood up and said neo-Nazism is wrong, neo-Nazism is wrong, that hate groups that espouse racial division are wrong. When the conservative, demagogue President Reagan stood up and actually said that, we now have come so far where even a conservative president who stood up to the idea that a person should not be discriminated on the basis of the color of their skin alone, just on the basis of the color of their skin, being castigated and removed from society solely because they have a different color. The president of the United States, the conservative president of the United States, Ronald Reagan, stood up in strong opposition to this. Now, what we don't see is that conservatism has been embraced by our popular government right now. What's being embraced now is this sort of dual culpability, which is Nazis are not necessarily bad. There might be some good people in there. Well, I'm going to put it to you a little differently. I do not think there were good people in there. I'm going to be completely biased and say there were not good people in there. And the reason why is because birds of a feather flock together. If you're saying that those who are, blood and soil, and you're talking about doing away with anybody who doesn't have Aryan blood, then this to me, first of all, is foolish, because we're all part of the human race. And number two is that means that many of the people in this United States would then not be able to be part of the blessing of the diversity of the United States, cultural diversity. And here's the interesting thing. A lot of people don't realize this, but every war that we have entered into, whether it be a world war or even a civil war, has been over the ideology of this issue of race. And if you look at the Civil War, the issue was allowing people of color. The Civil War was clear. It's not about heritage. Secessionists wanted to keep slavery. And the United States Army, if you take a look at their archives, will make it very, very clear that the oppression of people solely on the basis of color is unacceptable as an American value. So I'm going to say, even if I get some backlash on this, discriminating against people solely on the basis of color is wrong. Period. There is no good or bad about thinking otherwise. If you discriminate against people solely on the basis of their color, that means you have not taken enough time to know them. Period. Just like I do not believe all white people are bad. That is not true. All white people are not bad. It is important, however, to recognize that just because we live in a country where you have the right to say anything you want to say, that we need to be mindful of what we say, in that we need to be compassionate And we need to, if you take the biblical ideal, it says, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are of good report, think on these things. So none of our political leanings, Democrat or Republican, need to be involved in simply saying discrimination on the basis of color is wrong. And that has been spoken by both Democratic and Republican presidents. So I think we need to, first of all, establish that that is wrong. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. Racism is wrong. Period. Period. It's wrong. I don't care about Sharia law. I don't care about anything else. Racism on the basis of color alone is wrong in America or in any other country. So I'm going to come out on that. Now, I don't know if you guys have dissenting views, but that's where I stand. Nola.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Nola or Mustang, you can chime in.
Nola, do you have some? Yeah, go ahead, Nola. I'll go after you, man.
I would like to say that I totally agree 100% with you, and definitely back you up with, judging a person, condemning a person, persecuting just because of color of your skin is not humanly kind, nice, polite, indignant. It's definitely indignant of a person to look down upon another human who look just like you, just a different shade, walk just like you, talk just like you, may have a different dialect, same amount of toes, fingers, same teeth, the whole makeup of the body. But just because of the shade of their color, their skin, you want to persecute or, annihilate that person. It's something to me that just shows the mindset of a human. I tend to tell people that humans, I think the universe is backwards. And let me start it off like that. I think the universe is back because humans, if you look at our nature, we act like animals. And if you look at animals, animals do exactly what they're designed to do. They stay in their habitat until another animal or prey cross their path. And we act just like them. We just kill just for the fun of it, just because, I don't like them, or they're too superior, or they're too intelligent, and they're too extremist. We have all these different types of names and criteria that we want to place up on a nationality, but we are doing the same thing within our nationality, and so we have good people that we don't persecute, that we allow to get away with murder. And then we have the people, and those people that get away with murder are people that have.
Those are not good people, though. You just said we allow good people to get away with murder. No, if they're murdering, they're not good people.
We know that they're not good, but I'm just saying in different countries, different cultures, because of finances, because of status, we allow certain people that we consider they are bad people, but, we allow them to get away with murder because of their.
Okay.
And so that's the good as well as the bad. The bad people just suffer because they don't have the funding. And, sometimes you just pat those bad people that did a bad deed on their back and, hey, man, keep on going.
Yeah. Well, I want to go ahead. I'm sorry. I have to say something. Wait a minute.
I know you.
Oh, man. Wait a minute. Did you just say that because somebody has resources, we just allow them to get away with murder? Is that what you're saying, Nola?
Oh yes, in a vast area, yes, we have allowed a lot of people that had resources to get away with murder and on a capital level.
Well, I will offer that there are different justice systems for people who have resources, and I will definitely agree with you to that end. But what I will say is that I don't know that is solely an issue of race. I think we have a long way to go in having a corrupt justice system, which tends to incarcerate men of color in disproportionately large amounts